morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have said on this platform that Zimbabwe is a failed state. It is a failed state. And in my opinion, the number one reason we are a failed state is that for the last 46 years, we've been stuck with a corrupt, incompetent, tyrannical, and vote rigging Zanu PF dictatorship, assisted, at least in the last 26 years, by an equally corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless MDC-CCC opposition. This is a serious problem. What is the solution? I've come across this video clip, and I think this gentleman from Nigeria can give us an insight into problem solving. And I would like you to listen to it.
Strengthen your people. It is very possible for people to become so good at solving problems that they forget how to create solutions. Let that sink in, because those two things are not the same. When you are solving problems, you are responding to reality. A solution creating mindset designs or redesigns reality. And I believe that this explains something about Nigeria. We are phenomenal problem solvers. In fact, we are proud of it. A Nigerian can make something work under conditions that will make others give up. We have the intelligence needed. In one of my earlier videos, I called it improvisational intelligence. We have the creativity, we have the resilience. But as I've been saying for a while now, there is some danger in becoming exceptional at adaptation. Eventually, you'll start building an identity around surviving problems instead of eliminating them. Let me tell you something almost funny. If your roof is leaking and you put a bucket where the leak is to collect water, it is a temporary solution. But by the 10th different occasion that you place your bucket under a leaking roof, it has become a lifestyle. Most people never realized the day they stopped managing the problem and started reorganizing their lives around it. That is the difference between problem solving and solution creation. Solution creators interact with systems, which is a way of thinking I know is lacking here. And there are many reasons for that. Now, history has taught us that civilizations advance when enough people become fascinated by this question. Why does this keep happening? We don't really ask that question over here. Our approach is more, how can we handle this? How can we contain this? How can we stop this from getting worse? But every reoccurring event is a system revealing itself. Every crisis that keeps returning is evidence that there's something deeper generating it, which is why
I'd like to stop it there. The emphasis here is that Zimbabwe is a failed state. After 46 years of this corrupt, incompetent, murderous, vote-rigging Zanu PF dictatorship. What is the solution? It is important here to understand that in Zimbabwe, this case of 46 years of rigged elections and bad governance is a man-made problem. Zanu PF created this problem. So it is naive, therefore, to look to Zanu PF to create or to solve the problem, even create the temporary solution to the problem. Zanu PF is not interested in solving the problem. It created it, and it is sustaining it. I've often referred to the story of the rural areas. Before independence, in the 70s, the renowned Zimbabwean or Rhodesian at the time, economist and banker, John Robertson, is late now, went to Ian Smith with a detailed proposal of how giving rural people title deeds to even a few acres of land on which their mud hut stood made economic sense. It will give those rural people the confidence to invest in a better housing structure, develop those few acres of land, digging a well to make sure they've got clean water, planting fruit trees. The banks, financial institution, building societies will have the confidence to give those people a few $100s to build a decent homestead. Because when you have title deeds, you can, whatever improvements you make, you can use that as collateral security. It made economic sense. In fact, it's common sense. Ian Smith rejected the proposal. His argument was very simple. If I give the black majority a foothold on the economic ladder, economically empower them, the next thing they will be demanding is political empowerment. He was not prepared for that. And it was for that reason he said, no, he's not going to give the rural people title deeds to any land. After independence, John Robertson gave the same proposal to then Prime Minister Robert Gabriel Mugabe. He rejected it for exactly the same reasons. He did not want the rural people to be economically empowered because that will lead to political empowerment. That is a reality that many Zimbabweans with half a brain know. And most of them have pretended that they don't know it. Here is Margaret Dongo explaining that point.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Because at the moment, if you economically empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
Admit it or not, that is the reality on the ground. Zimbabwe has never held free, fair, and credible elections, ever since the country's independence in 1980. The only time the nation came closest to holding free, fair, and credible elections was in 2008. Then SADC had piled the pressure on Zanu PF to carry out a number of fundamental changes in the electoral process. When the results of the March 2008 election results were starting to come out, Zanu PF immediately realized that they were losing. Other party members accepted the result. Not so our present President Emerson Mnangagwa and Constantino Chiwenga. They stepped in and stopped ZEC declaring the results.
2008 patakaita ma-elections pakaposa papinda Tsvangirai ndandiri election agent ya president. Ma-results abuda tiri party headquarters vamutasa vanga vari secretary vedu ve-administration vamutasa muripi ndafona ndiri kwarusapi komo gwenda kwarusapi seka ma-results achibuda kudai vanga aiwa zvako izvo Mnangagwa ndezvako endaenda kumusha ofisi vanga vabisa zvinhu zvavo zvose watofunga kuti zani yadini yaparara. President ofona zvakamira sei kati ndomamira zvakaita takatodini kateda sei manje mama ndikati abvudzai baba nditaurira baba gadzirai politburo cabinet musarangarira zvimwe zivi gadzirai chi cabinet asi nakuda kuti muzive kuti 2008 ma-results abuda vamutasa vakatiza.
As a country we face a generational transition. Vana vesa vari kuma below 35, they are crying out for help. The country is in a mess. Arusuru Faro. We know we are inheriting a mess. We know this country has been left with nothing.
I'm assuring you that starting from tomorrow, you'll see a different nation from what you have seen or read on the news about these results and everything. Where we are going ahead there, the situation will be very different. What we said to our people, they could not see with their own eyes. We are going to act as we see it fit. We are prepared to go the whole distance.
Millions of Zimbabweans were internally displaced during the 2008 elections. Hundreds of thousands were either beaten, had their properties destroyed, raped, and over 500 were murdered in cold blood. This was Zanu PF making it very clear that the regime believes it has the divine right to rule the country and will ruthlessly impose that right. That is what we are talking about here. Zanu PF, as is depicted in this cartoon, does not want the ordinary Zimbabwean to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country, because it believes it has the divine right to rule. And to make that process easier, it has ruthlessly disabled the people. You'll chop your legs off and then come down with a wheelchair and give it to you with a lot of fanfare, singing and dancing, and make you grovel before the regime, thankful of the little mess. Zanu PF, Mnangagwa and Chiwenga should have gone straight to Chikurubi for what they did in 2008. Indeed, for what they've been doing this last 46 years. If the brutality of Zanu PF and oppression of Zanu PF does not justify the imposition of sanctions on that regime, I don't know what does. There's no one who can honestly argue that sanctions on the white regime was justified, but not on this Zanu PF regime. When the two regimes have been equally oppressive, totally disparaging when it comes to human rights and basic fundamental rights and human dignity. And yet, the regime has had an answer to that. It has employed its well-paid propagandists to campaign for the removal of sanctions. The last few weeks have been awash with stories of Rutendo Matinyarare complaining that he was not rewarded for his sterling work campaigning for the removal of sanctions. At the time, he claimed that the sanctions were totally unjustified. Zanu PF had done nothing wrong, and he managed to persuade many, particularly in Africa, to believe that was the case. But these recent weeks, when he has been complaining that he was not paid for it, the truth has started to come out then. So he was not campaigning for the removal of the sanctions because he believed they were wrong. He was campaigning for their removal because he was paid to do it. One of the tragedies of Africa is how intellectuals have sold their principles for 30 pieces of silver. And in the case of Matinyarare, is even willing to boast of their reward, the 30 pieces of silver. It's amazing. We in Africa, we have intellectuals who have shown again and again their willingness to sell their own mother for a price. And then boast that they had a mother to sell. I would like to give the last say on this issue to Mnangagwa himself, underlining the point that I've made, that we have a regime that believes that it has the divine right to rule Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe's political and economic crisis is a man-made problem. Zanu PF created the problem and is sustaining it.
We must be respected. We are majority. We are the people. We are the government. We are the army. We are the air force. We are the police. We are everything you can think of. We determine who can do mining in Zimbabwe. We determine who can construct a railway line in Zimbabwe. We determine who can build a road in Zimbabwe. No other party can do so.
In the case of Zanu PF, the confusion between party and state has never been clarified. The state, the party has trumped the state. The confusion between the party and the leader has also been equally confused. Many times, the leader has become more important than the state and the party. Mnangagwa is determined to stay in power at all costs. And as much as people would want to believe that we have a problem of the economic and political crisis in Zimbabwe, we do. But it is important that people should understand that this is a man-made problem. Zanu PF created this problem for its own selfish political reasons. And it is naive to expect that Zanu PF wants the problem solved. It doesn't. To Zanu PF, this is not a problem. This is the solution. It wants absolute power. And the surest way of getting absolute power is to create dependence on the masses. The masses must be economically and politically denied any meaningful power, so that they are totally at the mercy of the Zanu PF ruling elite and their cronies, so that they are forever grateful for the little mercies they receive from the regime. In part 2, I would like to attack the same problem of Zimbabwe is a failed state and the opposition's role in this. And in part 3, I would like to tackle the problem of the same problem and the people, the masses, the ordinary people's role in solving this problem. Thank you very much. Have a good day.